Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? Oh, they're over here. That's easier. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to happen, okay, under the current legal framework, some country would have to use a crypto asset as its currency.
Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple and the IMF. Both of them right here. This guy is a leading person in the IMF and Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of Ripple. And they both were on stage and the IMF was asked about cryptocurrency, if they would buy crypto. It was very interesting how this guy answered the video. The video I just played for you was literally from a few years ago. But this is still really big because Ripple, XRP and the IMF are both working together. Yes, I'm going to show you proof right now.
We are engaging very closely with the private sector and the industry. And last year put in place a high-level advisory group of industry leaders from the private and public sectors to help guide us in our work on fintech. I'm very happy to say that Chris Larsen, one of the co-founders of Ripple, and Sapnendo Mohante from the Monetary Authority of Singapore are both part of that group, and we're very grateful for the advice that they give us. And thirdly, we're engaging very actively with our member countries.
But this is still really big because Ripple, XRP and the IMF are both working together. Yes, I'm going to show you proof right now. Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larsen, the IMF, this guy right here are all connected together. And right here, as you can tell, the IMF's high-level advisory group on finance and technology is big for XRP. If you hold XRP right now, this is huge. Show your support, tap the like button real quick, because Chris Larsen right here, Ripple, as you can tell, is part of this group. This is important because we have people from the European Central Bank, Bank of Indonesia, the US Department of Treasury, BBVA Bank, Alibaba, Circle, which is a stablecoin. We have over here Ripple XRP. We have MIT, which is part of this organization, the Monetary Authority of Singapore. The People's Bank of China is literally part of this organization, the Monetary Authority of Singapore again, the Bank of Canada, Blockchain.com, and the IMF's Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank. Christine Lagarde is also part of this group, and so is Ripple XRP. Now here is a video about Ripple XRP having a debate with Bitcoin maxis. Yes, in front of the head of the IMF, this guy right here, the guy that I just showed you in today's video, this guy, the head of the IMF, he hosted a debate between XRP holders and Bitcoin maxis, right? So they're debating, and listen to this video.
Right, Ryan and Desiree, I don't know if you would like to comment on this as well. But Ryan, go ahead.
Proof of work doesn't work. Proof of work doesn't work.
Ryan, proof of work's been working.
Let me finish. Proof of work doesn't work.
Let him finish, please.
And in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a whole group of developers that broke off to create other assets, XRP being one of them, that doesn't use mining, that's cheaper from an energy perspective than Visa, and already scales to 1,500 transactions a second. A lot of these problems have already been solved. The challenge for adoption comes back to policy. The policy uncertainty around some of the assets.
They're talking about the SEC lawsuits. You know how basically XRP was the only cryptocurrency attacked by the US government. Bitcoin and Ethereum got a free pass. That's what he's talking about.
Has limited adoption, particularly here in the US. And I'm speaking from Ripple and XRP because we use that asset because it's a half cent per payment. It's basically free. It scales and it's efficient. So 1,500 transactions a second at nearly no energy burn. So we're at a point today where there are real solutions to all of these challenges that already exist. Policy has become the challenge. And we heard on the first panel that around centralization on China, and this is going to be a hard pill for Peter to swallow. But 80% of the mining power for Bitcoin is controlled by 6 mining pools, 5 of which are in China. Today, the policy certainty in the US exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum, despite the fact those are China-controlled platforms. So activity goes to those platforms. What we need to do from a policy perspective in the US is look at the places where there are uncertainty. And one place, I'm speaking directly for me here, is XRP, where it looks like Bitcoin, It's decentralized, it's open source. We have 7% of the validation power on that, rather small in there. Grouping or giving clarity to those ones that are very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have the same characteristics and should be classified the same way. And then we're creating a level playing field across all the cryptos. I'm not anti-Bitcoin or anti-Ethereum by any means. I think there's a lot of great potential and breakthrough there. But we need to have a level playing field so the market can pick which ones they want to use and not be, as today they are, hindered by regulatory uncertainty.
XRP is much better than Bitcoin. It's faster, it's more scalable, it's better for the economy, for the world, and it solves a lot of the challenges that Bitcoin faces. But the only thing facing XRP still is regulatory uncertainty, which will be behind us now, because this was from a few years ago. But now that that is over, XRP can finally do its thing. And listen to why XRP is better than Bitcoin. Brad Garlinghouse in this video is in front of the IMF and the Swiss National Bank. He spoke about XRP being way better than Bitcoin. Listen to this.
Now, we build upon a tech stack of an open source technology called XRP. XRP, originally was built by some engineers who had seen some of the flaws of Bitcoin and the challenges of scalability around Bitcoin. Where Bitcoin today, on a per transaction basis, it's rather slow and rather expensive. XRP is very, very fast, about 1,000 times faster per transaction and 1,000 times cheaper per transaction. The other dynamic, of course, of correspondent banking is some of the more quote-unquote exotic currencies, exotic corridors have been left to kind of stand on their own. And the liquidity in digital assets could be applied to actually make that much more democratized and a level playing field.
So the IMF literally needs to send money all over the world, different types of currencies that they need to be able to work with, central banks, financial institutions, and have all people all over the world be able to send money very quickly, right? So that is what the IMF is focused on, the International Monetary Fund. So Ripple XRP can solve a lot of the challenges that the IMF is facing. And now here is one last video about the CEO of Ripple and the IMF on stage. Listen to this.
And not even specific to Ripple or to XRP's community, I think one of the things that will surprise us a year from now is that banks will be custodying digital assets directly. And I think right now we think about that and think, look, there's no way that's going to happen. They're too conservative. And I think what you're seeing is two things happening. One is banks are seeing that a lot of money is being made by digital asset exchanges globally, and banks are profit motivated. The second, and as we've talked about up here, certainly Ross has made very clear, is regulatory clarity and regulatory frameworks enable banks and financial institutions to lean into these markets. And I think we will surprise ourselves by this time. And by the way, I'll also predict that it will be banks in the ASEAN markets where there is this regulatory clarity and there is a lot of progressive forward thinking. They'll be the first to actually allow for crypto assets custody in their accounts.
So the IMF and Ripple XRP are working together. If you enjoyed today's video, if you learned anything new, share this video, tap a like button so the algorithm can push this out to everyone who needs to see this especially. If you want to long or short XRP, go to Wynand Crypto, and on this video you're going to find a link to sign up to BTCC to be able to trade Bitcoin and XRP and other cryptocurrencies. And guys, with BTCC you can get a limited time $10,000 bonus on your first deposit. This is where I'm trading. This is where I can open all of my long positions, all of my trades. I think it's a fantastic place to be trading. So make sure to use the link down in the description below if you want to sign up and start trading XRP. If you own XRP, do your part, show your support. I love you all, and I will see you very soon. Until the next time, Wynand Crypto out.